Hey TV fans, Board now back with you on this video. I'm going to be talking about Orphan Black Echoes, episode 4 of the first season. The episode is called It's All Coming Back, and believe it or not, that's referencing a Celine Dion song, because in a hilarious bit of comedy in the middle of this episode, the Reed Diamond character and one of the other agents, the Chinese agent, they've been talking earlier in the episode about how they have a real appreciation for Celine Dion, how she's a very different kind of singer / diva to Mariah Carey. So of course that leads to a scene in the later in the episode where they're singing out loud to that song in the car. Yeah, that's what we're going for. These really deadly serious agents, they normally are, and they start singing out to Celine Dion and referencing her. And meanwhile, in the back of the car, the other agent, who we find out a little bit more about in this episode, who it turns out is more sympathetic and more on the side of Kira, and actually interested in helping Lucy and Jules. Well, she's like, yeah, I can't believe I'm in the car with these crazy agents. So there's that stuff. So let's go through the episode, because once again, it's pretty tedious to watch, even though it was a shorter episode. It really goes through the motions. Again, it's really cheesy and CW type levels again. So first of all, speaking of those two agents, the Reed Diamond agent and the other agent, they're fucking useless basically, because the episode starts with Jules wanting to sneak out of the house after what her parents tried to, or foster parents tried to do to her at the end of the last one. She doesn't trust them anymore. She wants answers. So she gets her adopted brother, Wes, his name is. She borrows his hat, basically, and he gets all sensitive because, like, oh, it's a vintage hat. And then there's stuff with him where, because when she's trying to talk him into, like, covering for her, she's like, I'm a printout, don't forget. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, that's still a thing, I guess. So there's attempt at humour in this episode. You can see more of an attempt at humour, but it's really awkward and it's really stilted and it's way too quirky and cheesy. So she borrows Wes's vintage hat and he has to cover for her. And she leaves the house like it, and the agents see what they think is Wes and they don't bat an eyelid. In fact, they start talking about his stand-up show because they've seen it on the internet and they're actually pretty big fans. And that's it. You can't believe these agents. You can't believe that they wouldn't make sure then it's Wes. I mean, pretty shitty agents. I'm sure they're being paid quite well as well. So the main bulk of the plot is then Jules shows up at Lucy's and she's immediately really shitty towards her. I guess there's no surprise about that, but she's shitting on her whole relationship with James, like their whole sort of setup there, and she's just immediately passive aggressive once again, even though she wants her help, she wants answers. And then they start bonding slowly. They start talking about having the same experiences and what it feels like to be them. Do they feel the same thing? There's this really clunky line where Jules talks about, I guess I'm happy, but I don't know if what makes me happy is the same as what makes you happy. They get high at some point, or what appears to be them getting high, that they sort of snort up some drugs up their nose. And I think it's like the memory drug, which helps them remember or something. And you get this really, really clunky sort of montage of them laughing and getting high. And then they start creating art, which is meant to, like, fill in some of the pictures. James comes in at one point when they're high in the bathroom and shows them a picture of Kira, and that they both agree that they've come across her, so there's a connection there. At one point, Jules meets Charlie, and they have quite a nice scene. And some of the stuff with Charlie is fine. I don't mind it too much. Although there's kind of a bad scene where Lucy explains to Charlie what's going on with like her, and explains that she's a printout, and does a picture of a photocopier, a 3D printer, because of course she does. And she starts to remember, and they have this, as I said, this tedious conversation about who they are, how they're connected. Lucy passes out asleep at one point, and it's like, all this is just dragging the plot. I mean, in the original Orphan Black, you didn't need to have all these moments, all these, like, getting to know you type moments. You just went on a journey and you found things out along the way. And I think this is why it's much better having in the original them being actual clones, but they are naturally different from each other. They have different lives. Because the reason that works so well is you got to know each one of them separately, but then the plot's intercepted and they gradually built up like this sort of family dynamic. But the trouble with this is it's trying to do that before you've even kick-started the plot, and it's just treating every little thing with too much like reverence type thing, and it's just a more like unsatisfying way to do it. Like the fact that they're not like, well, they come from a printer but they don't really look like each other, and just all the sort of forced like mystery and melodrama, and how long it's taking to do everything, rather than just naturally building up their plots, and how exciting it was with Tatiana Missani in that original show getting to like do 5 or 6 different versions of herself. It was much more interesting to watch. So they sort of go down this rabbit hole of, like, in one of the drawings, there's a picture of this fraternity house. And they go to a fraternity house because they figure out that that's something important to their past. And so that's actually a scene where they actually go to this fraternity house, but they have to go upstairs and find an excuse to use a bathroom. So there's actually a scene where they're told you need access to a key, but you have to prove you're one of us. So there's actually a scene where it's almost like a similar game to beer pong, but I'm assuming it's meant to be like a lighter sort of version of that, a more feminine type version. So they can get the key to go upstairs. And from then, they learn that the woman of the house is now an old woman, and she's in like an older person's home. So they go off to the old person's home, and that character is Melissa, who starts calling them both Eleanor, and we soon find out she is their mother, as in their biological mother. And she's really rude to them because the idea is that she's senile and a bit stuck in her ways. And the whole thing just drags and drags. And it builds to this really, really bad, like, frantic action type scene. And once again, this is one of the things with this show, is it doesn't have the budget, or it doesn't have the direction to do a really exciting, gripping action scene in the same way as the original show did. So what happens is you've got these agents who are notified. So the Reed Diamond character intercepts the call when it's the woman at reception. I wasn't quite sure who she was meant to be ringing, but she calls someone and flags up the these two girls have visited Melissa, and she's calling them both Eleanor, and like she hasn't acted this way in a long time. So that puts him on note. Then it's the two, it's Jules and it's Lucy. So they go off. That's when they're doing the Celine Dion thing, singing in a car, and at the same time, Kira also hears of this, also gets the call. So I think she's being helped by the other agent, who it seems might be undercover and might have sympathies with Lucy and with Jules. So she's actually helping Kira. We see this during the episode where she comes to her and she takes her to this caravan which has some files and some information, and it's all related to the experiments and the history of these clones. Not really clones, of course, I have to stop saying that, but like at one point she sees like this book, which is this philosophy type book, which is by the guy who runs the whole place. But anyway, she gets the call and she is en route as well. So you've got the agents en route, you've got Kira en route, and you get this really bad like action type scene to like end the episode, because also Jules's foster mum has found out from Wes, because Wes is useless at keeping a secret. She catches him in a lie straight away, so she goes to this place as well to try and track Jules down. And so when they see the agents are there, they decide to spree, but they split up. And yeah, the other agent, the one who it seems is helping them, she bumps into to Lucy on the stairway. And she says, "Hit me." So that's the whole thing. Lucy she shoves her, to make it look like half decent. So she goes over, which means when the other agent comes down the stairs, it looks like it's really goofy shit, but it looks like she's been shoved or been in a scuffle. So this is the Asian agent. So she then chases Lucy down the stairs, and that's when Kira's car pulls up, and Kira's like, "I'll give you answers, get in," and she gets in the car before the other agent can get her, and we end with a scene with Lucy and Kira where Kira's promising to give Lucy answers. And yeah, that's the whole thing. And she says, "You were made with love," and that's kind of the end of the episode. And the other like thing in that hospital scene at the end is that, like, when Jules's mother shows up and like, "You can trust me, come with me," and Jules is like, "Why should I trust you?" Then Reed Diamond's character shows up when they're trying to open the elevator doors. So it seems like someone's jamming in the doors. and Jules's mother actually uses pepper spray on him. God's sake, I didn't see that coming, but the action scene is so naff. Like, he gets taken out by pepper spray, basically. So, that's the episode. I think I might be done, to be honest, but that's episode 4 of Orphan Black Echoes. It's not the worst episode, but it's pretty bad, and as I said, even though it was shorter, it was still very tedious. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've been watching this show, like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can support the channel for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/boardnow. But keep watching TV, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.